There's a powder sitting in bulk supplement warehouses right now, priced at roughly $3 for 100 grams, and it does something that every rust prevention product on the automotive shelf is specifically designed to make you forget is possible. It doesn't slow corrosion down. It doesn't temporarily seal it behind a layer of paint or wax. It chemically dismantles rust at the molecular level and replaces it with something harder, darker, and completely waterproof. One application, no power tools, no sandblasting, no professional equipment, a foam brush, warm water, and a plastic container. That's the entire setup. Walk into any auto parts store today, and you'll find an entire aisle dedicated to the assumption that rust is a permanent problem requiring permanent management. Primers, converters, encapsulators, rubberized sprays, branded kits selling for $30, $50, $80 a can. Each product positioned as the most advanced solution yet, each promising results that last a season or two before you're back standing in the same aisle. The average American vehicle owner spends between $400 and $900 on corrosion-related repairs and treatments over the life of a car. That number isn't a coincidence, it's a business model. And the compound that breaks that model has been known to metallurgists, military engineers, and traditional craftspeople for over 2,000 years. What most people have never been told is that rust isn't actually destroyed by the best commercial converters, it's transformed. The chemistry isn't a secret kept in a laboratory. It's a reaction that happens naturally when a specific class of plant-derived compounds makes contact with iron oxide. The industry knows this, the labels know this, but the conversation around it has been kept technical, branded, and expensive enough that most people never connect the dots between what's inside that $30 bottle and what's available in a bulk bag for $3. The story begins not in a chemistry lab, but in the tanning workshops of the ancient world. For thousands of years, leather workers across Rome, Persia, West Africa, and South America used water steeped in oak bark, pomegranate rind, chestnut wood, and acacia pods to convert raw animal hide into durable leather. The process was called tanning. The active chemistry behind it came from a class of naturally occurring plant compounds we now call tannins, with tannic acid being the most chemically potent among them. Inside those tanning vats, iron tools that workers accidentally dropped or submerged came out coated in a thin, dark film. Tools that would normally show surface rust within days of contact with humid air stayed clean for months. Blacksmiths noticed, armorers noticed, and within a few generations, the deliberate treatment of iron with tannin-rich solutions had become standard maintenance practice across multiple civilizations, not because someone published a study, but because it visibly, undeniably worked. Persian metalworkers in Isfahan used crushed pomegranate rind, which carries a tannin concentration above 25%, to treat sword blades before the dry desert winters. Japanese swordsmiths developed their own process using fermented persimmon juice to protect the soft iron core of composite blades. West African iron workers along the Guinea coast extracted tannins from shea bark and applied them to agricultural tools before the 6-month monsoon season. Mapuche craftspeople in South America used quebracho wood extract, like one of the most tannin-dense substances found in nature, to preserve iron tools received through trade with Spanish colonists. These weren't isolated folk remedies. These were independent civilizations, separated by oceans and centuries, arriving at the same chemical solution through direct observation. That level of convergence doesn't happen with folklore. It happens with chemistry that actually works. The science behind why it works wasn't formally documented until 1813, when French chemist Henri Braconnot isolated tannic acid as a pure compound and described its reaction with iron oxide in detail. When tannic acid contacts iron 3 oxide, the orange flaky compound we recognize as rust, it triggers a conversion reaction. The rust doesn't get sealed over, it gets chemically restructured into a new compound called iron 3 tannate. Iron tannate is dark blue-black in color, fully insoluble in water, non-porous, and bonded to the underlying steel at a molecular level. It doesn't sit on top of the surface the way paint or wax does, waiting for a scratch or chip to let moisture back underneath. It is the surface. The rust has been converted into its own permanent replacement. What was destroying the metal becomes the thing protecting it. The British Royal Navy ran formal trials of tannin-based treatments on iron warship hulls at Portsmouth in the mid-1800s and documented 60% less corrosion over 5 years compared to hulls treated with standard lead-based paint. During the Second World War, the United States military ran accelerated corrosion testing at Aberdeen Proving Ground on over 200 anti-corrosion compounds. A 4% tannic acid solution outperformed every synthetic competitor in the program, withstanding over 1,000 hours of continuous salt spray exposure without failure. The nearest synthetic alternative failed at 600 hours. Jeep chassis, ammunition containers, bridge components, and landing craft hardware were treated with the same compound. The results were declassified in 1947 and largely forgotten by the time the post-war chemical industry had consolidated around petroleum-based rust products that cost far more and required regular reapplication. That reapplication cycle is the key to understanding why tannic acid disappeared from public awareness while never disappearing from commercial formulations. The commercial rust converter products currently sold at hardware stores for $15 to $30 per bottle list. Tannic acid as their primary active ingredient on every safety data sheet. The chemistry inside those bottles is functionally identical to what Roman blacksmiths used and what the Aberdeen program documented. The difference is packaging, branding, and a price markup of 10 to 15 times the raw material cost. After 1978, updated consumer product labeling guidelines allowed manufacturers to list active ingredients under proprietary trade names rather than standard chemical nomenclature. Tannic acid became stabilized iron chelation formula, or advanced oxide modification technology, on product labels. Same molecule, new vocabulary, dramatically higher price point. A compound that any person can buy in bulk, mix in a kitchen bowl, and apply with a paintbrush became an ingredient buried inside branded products that no one was supposed to recognize or source independently. Applying it yourself takes about 45 minutes and costs roughly $3 for enough material to treat an entire truck frame. Purchase food-grade tannic acid powder from any bulk supplement supplier or online retailer. A 100-gram bag runs between $3 and $5. Dissolve 4 grams of the powder in 100 milliliters of warm water and stir until fully clear. The solution will turn the deep amber color of strong brewed tea. That's your working compound. Using a wire brush or coarse steel wool, scrub away any loose, flaking rust from the surface you're treating. You don't need to reach bare, shiny metal. Just remove anything that would prevent good contact. Apply the solution evenly with a foam brush, a cotton rag, or a basic spray bottle. Within 10 to 15 minutes, watch the orange-brown rust begin shifting toward dark blue-black. That visible color change is the conversion reaction happening in real time. Iron 3 oxide becoming iron 3 tannate on the surface of your metal. Let it air dry fully, 2 to 4 hours depending on conditions, then apply a second coat using the same process. Once the second coat cures, the surface is ready for any top coat: paint, linseed oil, rubberized undercoating, beeswax, or used motor oil for raw underbody protection. For camp tools and hand tools, a thin layer of boiled linseed oil worked into the converted surface after curing is enough to carry it through years of outdoor exposure. For cast iron cookware, apply the solution lightly to rust spots, allow full conversion, then reseason at normal temperature as usual. A few things worth being clear about. Tannic acid conversion works best on surfaces with moderate rust, not on metal that has been eaten through to structural failure. If a section of steel has pitted deeply or lost significant thickness, conversion stabilizes what remains, but doesn't rebuild lost material. On painted or heavily coated surfaces, the solution needs direct contact with the rust to react. If the rust is sealed under intact paint, mechanical removal first is still necessary. The solution is mildly acidic and should be kept off aluminum and zinc surfaces, as the reaction chemistry doesn't apply the same way and can cause discoloration. For bare steel, rusted iron, and cast iron, the process works as described. Work in ventilated space, keep it off skin for extended contact, and store the powder dry and sealed. 2,000 years of metallurgical knowledge, military field testing, and convergent discovery across 4 continents landed on the same cheap powder that's currently sitting inside $30 bottles at your local hardware store. The markup exists because the solution works. If it didn't hold up, it wouldn't be worth hiding inside a branded product and selling back at 10 times the cost. The rust on your truck frame, your axe head, your camp tools, and your cast iron pan is not an inevitable condition requiring permanent management. It's a $3 chemistry problem with a 45-minute solution that the coatings industry has spent decades making sure you'd pay much more to solve. Hidden Fix Lab exists to make sure that kind of math stops working. Share this with someone who's been paying for it